Folks, we are in for a treat. We might see our first fist fight because usually the three amigos come from three different locations. But now we've got the Lumberjack and Dion together. And we're going to talk about stuff we disagree with. This, of course, was brought to us by our relevant teacher, Mr. Dion. How you doing, Dion?
Howdy. I'm doing marvelous. I'm actually finding out as I'm taking this trip here to spend some time with Matt, the lumberjack landlord, how much we actually do disagree on.
Yeah, so you brought up this topic. I actually have no idea where this is going to go. So, you were the one that put this along. So why don't you go first?
Okay. One of the things I think that we disagree on, because a lot of our content is kind of like a hedge against the crash pros, right? There's so many content creators out there saying, here's the crash, here's the reason for the next crash, why you shouldn't take action, why you should wait, all of the reasons why you should wait, delay action. And we can all agree, the three of us, that if somebody's telling you to wait, or if somebody's telling you to hurry, that's pretty stupid. Okay, so I was thinking there are times where the three of us will triangulate.
Yeah.
Two of us will talk about the other, and then the two of us together, and then you two will talk about me, and whatever the version of it is of.
Now I understand. So it's two. I understand. So yeah, you're right. There are plenty of topics I've seen over time where two of us agree, and then the other one is the oddball, which I think makes our conversations great. So now I understand the task at hand. So I know the one that comes to mind first: recycling capital. It is the only way to rock and roll. You're a freaking moron if you don't do it. And of course, I jest because one guy here didn't do it, even though we told him to. But yeah, so now I understand. Yeah, right. Matt and I are definitely recycle capital. So
I'm glad you were able to keep it on real estate, because I was going to go with one of us is sane, the other two are married.
I knew that was going to be it.
So when it comes to recycling capital, I think the two of you have shown it is a successful strategy to grow massive portfolios with great cash flow, exponentially larger than mine. But as I'm on this trip, and I'm walking through some of the buildings that Matt has, of these several projects that are going, the hundreds of thousands of dollars in expenses going out every month, which will have a great return. I'm thinking, I'm going to take a nap at some point in time today.
I'm done. I'll meet you in the car.
Managing the contractors that he has to.
Yeah.
Takes a spreadsheet, a whiteboard, and an organized spouse. So there's the one benefit to marriage. Okay.
Sure.
Fine. Yes. There was one. So yes, recycling capital is one that we disagree on. And I think if somebody were to look at Matt's portfolio and somebody were to look at my portfolio and say, hey, the end result, this is what you can have, or this is what you can have, 999 out of 1,000 would say Matt's way.
No, I don't know that's true. I don't know that that's true.
Done.
I still don't know that that's true. Maybe when it's done.
Maybe. But Dion's gotten to see. So he saw what active on 137 looks like, because he's heard me on the phone. Like, we've been driving, we hit, I don't know, maybe 15 properties this morning. And it was busted water heater, talking to my guy about what his projects are for the day, talking to another guy about what his projects are for the day, meeting up with the roofer, meeting up with the siding guy, showing him, some new projects.
$37,000 checks.
$37,000 checks, a $40,000 check. Like, that's what we talked about in the car. And I was like, literally, I'm going to have $110,000 day writing checks.
And while we're there, I got a text from an electrician. So I was landlording today too.
Yes.
To do a project a week from now.
Yeah. So this is why this is an important point.
But there's one person that went to the bank today. That was Dion. And that was a deposit and shit.
Yeah, because I got paid.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But see, this is why I think I think if most people voted and you took out unit count from it, I think most people get into what we talk about, one rental at a time, to be Dion.
Agreed.
I want to work a couple of hours a month. Now, again, now I love what Dion proposed, because I can translate this into where Dion and I agree and we disagree with you, Matt.
Yes.
He and I probably maybe I spend a few more hours a month, but not proportionately more. because we both have, or we both, you know, I do property management, right? He self-manages, but again,
we'd have to exclude his last 6 weeks.
true, because he's doing for
Rehab
Spur.
that I will never do again because I've only tried them that way. This is stupid.
But yeah, Mike, you're exactly right. To your point, you probably spent a little bit more time than Dion, but
not disproportionately more.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is, I think that, you know, what Dion and I were talking about while we're driving around to these different ones, he's like, lots of projects. And I was like, absolutely, lots of projects. The idea is, I said, at any point, I can decide after those, I can stop. And it's a massive, like, tsunami, like, cash flow wave.
And to be
No,
fair,
yeah, that's exactly right. Because
he said this is the last one.
Yes,
Each one of those 4 was the last one.
in that,
Right.
in that
he's
stage.
he's addicted. We both know that he's addicted to the deal.
Well,
But no,
yeah,
that's exactly right. I mean, because that's what Olivia and I experienced. What was that? 5 years ago, is we stopped aggressive growth. You know, 8 or 9 months after the aggressive growth, because it just takes time to season and tenant selection and all of that. The tsunami of cash flow is crazy. And the thing that I don't know about Matt going forward. I don't know that he could stop.
watch me.
Well, clearly we're going to talk at least once a week going forward, so we'll
Yes,
see.
course.
I don't know if you have that slow down gene, man. I just
My
don't
wife
know.
doesn't believe I do.
She said the same thing.
She said
She
exactly the
said
same
exactly
thing.
the
She's
same
like, I don't know if you can slow down. And I know I have an inner Dion. I know I do. When scratching on the inside, waiting to get out. Like,
Everybody should get in touch with their
get in touch with
Inner
your
Dion.
It means napping and doing nothing but eating out and being chauffeured.
It also means that's actually true on this trip. It also means that the more nothing you do, the more money you have.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that was one of the things we were talking about, is that, you know, it's like, I'm not asking for anybody's sympathy. I know what I'm doing, but on top of mortgages, right? I spent over $100,000 a month every month this year, above and beyond mortgages.
Damn.
Every month. And so the idea was, many of these assets that I acquired in the last 2 years, I want to make them what I do, and then and again, I don't want to force people out. What I really want to do is I want to say, hey, great, here's the binder method. And then it's like, I want a bigger number, and that's right. Okay, if you decide that you want to leave, no problem. But then I take that back, I redo it, and then I get a much bigger number. Like,
Yeah, you know what?
Again,
This is funny, because I actually go back to a conversation that 3 of us had individually. Well, I guess 2 conversations. God, it might have been 3 years ago. Remember that spreadsheet I had you guys fill out about what lifestyle you want? What?
yeah, mine was 40 grand a month.
Yeah, that was like the average. You had a baller number that was like 100 grand a month.
Yeah, I did.
So back to the list of things that we disagree on. That isn't a goal that I have.
Me neither. Yeah.
Well, all your kids are grown, and
True.
I have to put my kids through what will be probably $1 million education, right? I mean,
True.
at college,
if you really wanted to spark an argument, this is where we could totally disagree.
Agreed.
I would justify all the reasons why I wanted my kids in public school, and
Yes.
justify all the reasons why you want
Absolutely.
in private school.
Yep.
And we would both have a long list, not real estate related, so we're not going to go into that today. Because your wife would probably murder me.
She wouldn't. She wouldn't. She'd be like, Matt, take care of that.
Yeah, make him go away.
No problem.
So, on the real estate front, other things that we disagree on. So,
Okay.
recycle capital versus recycle cash flow.
Yeah.
I prefer to buy rent-ready or already occupied properties and use the binder method to do no rehab to get a rent increase to give me the return that I like.
Yep.
Most of what I've seen of Matt's portfolio, and from what I've heard, you guys,
Very true. No doubt.
like a place that's either empty, that you can rehab, get it to best area average rents.
Yep.
So the time, energy, and effort commitment that it takes to do that gets a better return. So mathematically, I think you guys are in the right. On the lazy spectrum,
You win.
The right amount of cash flow, not the most amount of cash flow,
Right.
with the
Yeah.
least amount of units.
I like that.
I definitely think we disagree on that. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, I can do the Burr method, I can do value add. I can put in sweat equity, or you can be super lazy like Dion. Buy a place that doesn't get as good a return, gets a good return. Do a couple $1,000s worth of work through a handyman to fix a few things that the tenants are shocked that you took care of because it's been that way for 5 years. A very little tenant turnover, and be lazy.
Yeah. Yep. You
No,
can he's bringing it to a level.
The more and more I love this conversation, because when I look at what Matt and I've done over the last decade is we bust our ass during the day and we're like, how do we maximize our chips? And that includes recycling capital, that includes buying dumps. But again, that's one way to go. I think most people would be ecstatic to repeat what Dion has done.
Yep.
Least amount of time commitment, not the best return, but a great return. I would argue the least amount of risk. Sometimes we buy dumps and we find surprises. It's like, well, shit, there goes that return.
For a year.
Yeah, for a year, right?
Yep.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but I get the question all the time. Hey, I'm a busy professional. I don't have time. I mean, it's I've got some money put aside, but I don't know what to do with it. I think doing what that's tough to repeat what you and I do, Matt. But Dion's way is pretty easy.
But I think to that point, I think you choose, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of those people, right? Like there's Cody and Christian, hyperdrive, right?
Yeah.
And so you go right down through the list, and it's I don't know why I'm reminded by this, because I don't really feel this way about it, but it's kind of like that scene in Troy where the little kid looks up at Achilles and says, oh, if that were if I were in the fight, I would be so scared and I would run away. And Achilles just looks at him and goes, well, that's why no one's going to remember your name.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's like, for me, the funny thing is it's like, I see all the other investors that are kind of my size and bigger, that next level up, and they went to putting their names on buildings. I hate that stuff. Like, the only way that you can tell one of my buildings to another one is because I use the same color palettes.
Me too.
Like, I have the same 2-3 color palettes. So it's kind of like, yeah.
That's one of mine.
Yeah. But again, for me and from my perspective, I think it's all what you want to make of it, right? Because at the end of the day, Dion and I talk about budgets, right? We talk about real stuff. And so his budget that he lives on, he's very comfortable. He has money left over every month. On the budget that I live on, I'm very comfortable and I have money left over at the end of the month. The difference is that I've got 3 kids, soon to be 4 kids, going through school, preparatory stuff, blah, blah, blah. That's going to be expensive. And so for me, just based on my belief system, I don't want to make my kids go to college. I want to make sure that they have the absolute utmost, craziest, awesome undergraduate, studies as grade school and high school. And maybe they'll stay in, unlike me. And so if I think I can make it really engaging and that is an advantage. And so that's an advantage I want to give my kids, and then how that turns out later in life, we'll see. But I think obviously my kids being around my business is going to teach them more than any school is going to teach them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. So Dion, do you have more things that we
Yeah, I do. So the recycle capital is the one that comes up, but when it really comes to lazy, I don't think people understand the length that a person can go to. Have you guys purchased from a wholesaler?
Yes.
Purchased an off-market deal?
Yes.
Used creative financing?
Yes.
Ever done subject to?
No.
No. It was kind of like that. It was a little bit hairier.
I want to say done a rehab, but I have now officially done in the middle of.
So commercial financing, we've bought commercial buildings.
Commercial properties.
Very different. Yeah.
Very different. Yeah.
So I have not done every single deal from the MLS, every single deal conventional loan, or one finally now a rehab cash purchase. All of the creative things that you guys have done, I'm on the other end of the spectrum of the amount of effort. And I would have said at one point, well, it's because I was working full time, 50, 60 hours a week. You too. Okay. Mike, you too, for several, the first 15 years of your investing, right?
Yeah.
I think we're diametrically opposed when it comes to the level of effort we put into investing. Whereas I'm like an MLS search with multiple agents, offers, and for years it was speed, get it in there quick. Now it's watch days on market, which worked on my last 2 that were accepted, make the offers, get them in. Versus you guys were like, okay, I'm not getting anything off the MLS. what other bandwidth do I have time to do? And I was too lazy to do any of that.
Well, so I think, Mike, so for you and for me, right, we're looking at every asset can be considered.
Yeah,
So
of
we
course.
have a wider funnel at the top. We have more that comes through the bottom by design. But I believe, I'm predicting that Dion will have a crisis of conscience when he finishes his rehab, because he will see the level of ridiculous his returns are, because he bought something that needed a bunch of work. He got the work done under budget, and the place will be beautiful.
Yeah.
And he will get, there is a chance Dean and I switch, and I go lazy after all mine are done. And he's like, you know what? Rehabbing's not that bad.
Yeah, because let's be clear, he's not picking up a hammer. Dion's not doing any of this work.
He can listen. He knows what he's looking at. I walked around. He knew what he was looking at.
So I've purchased properties, never really caring about net worth or the value of the properties. I'm looking at cash flow, yield, financial freedom. I'm very frustrated by the quick round numbers of purchasing a place for 400, putting in 50. ARV on my estimate is 750. Every other investor in the area that I've looked at is saying 900 or $1 million, right? So I'm creating $300,000 or $400,000, and that I'm frustrated that the thought might even cross my mind that is money I could put to work. I don't want more properties. I don't want more tenants. I don't want more work to do. The idea was financial freedom for financial freedom. So I need
okay, so let me poke at that.
yield.
Yes.
So let's just assume for round numbers, you could get 300 grand, just to pick a number.
It's more, but
And
yes.
profit on top of
Yeah. No, it's like when you could go extract capital, you can't get all of it. You got to leave 20% in the property. So I'm just going to pick 300.
He could get
Right,
300 out of it. That's all right.
300 out,
Correct.
right?
Yep, 300 out. Yeah.
What is your smallest loan today on a property you do own?
No, smallest?
Yeah, sub 300.
Yeah, two. I got two at like 230.
Okay. So what's the interest rate? I'm just curious.
3.
Oh, well, never mind. So you're not doing that.
That's
Not paying that off. Yeah. So let's play this out. So
everything in 2020. So
okay, smart. So you're a smart man. Yeah, everything's sub 4. You're not paying that off.
Right.
So okay, so you got it. So you own this property free and clear, right?
correct.
All right. So let's say it's worth, let's say $1 million just for grins. Let's say you could, and you're going to live there also, right?
I'm living there doing the rehab.
No, I'm sorry. After we're done, you're living there.
So I'm living there now, and I'm going to continue to live there. Yeah.
So you could refi it still with a owner occupied loan, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yes.
Right. So you're going to get a good loan.
And he's under 10 loans still.
And he's under 10 loans still.
Yes.
So you could easily extract 700 grand.
Easily.
I could easily not.
You could easily. There's a counterpoint to not easily not.
Yeah. So the question becomes, so let's assume your rate's going to be 6%.
Yeah.
I'm just picking a number.
Owner occ, buy it down. Yeah.
Yeah, buy it down, all that, get to 6%. So the question I would have is, do you think you can, do you have a proven track record, being lazy as you are, that you could earn 12 to 15% yield on 600 grand?
Yes.
Well, then you're a moron not to.
See, this is where I wanted to make this video on the things we disagree on. I think that not to the level of moron, but
I was using that on purpose, but
it's fine because I get mathematically, if somebody was out there was like, if I did a little bit more, I'd have another $20,000 a year in income or $30,000 a year in income.
But here's the deal: you don't have to do what Matt does or I did, where we just kept going, bigger, writing $100,000. Do one a year.
Yeah.
Just one a year. You're so
one every other year. It's like that's the lazy.
Even the one every other year, like it's not that much. And again, if you can, because I think so, Mike, to your point, I think that there's, and this is what one of the things Dion and I were talking about was, it's going to be hard for me to shut it off all at once. What I want to do is reduce pace, right?
Yes, exactly.
So
Don't go cold turkey.
No,
Yeah.
so I'll reduce pace over time because I'm going to start twitching and I'm going to buy some things I shouldn't buy. Exactly. And so the idea is reduce pace, but there's going to be historically strong deals for us to buy. maybe in 12 months, maybe in 24
Yeah,
months.
this is exactly right. So that's why Dion just can't leave it there.
No,
You
he's
have
gonna
to.
see, he's gonna get a return, Mike. I'm telling you, when he
I
sees,
know.
oh, and then
Yeah,
yeah, or I'll just be asking him for a loan at 3 points.
When you see
yeah,
me
exactly.
in Portugal for a month and a half, and then you see me in Boston, and then you see me in Thailand, and you see me
You
on
could still do one a
trips.
year, right? Where it becomes a problem is where you have 5 or 6 projects running in a row. You've got to be local when that happens.
Yep.
But doing what you're doing at your duplex, you don't have to be there. You
Right.
being there is doing nothing except maybe make somebody show up on time, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the next project for me, the budget is $1 million. That's the budget for the rehab. It's $1 million.
Are we ready to talk about it, or is it not done yet?
Can't, we're so close.
All right, we'll talk
So
about it when it's done.
close.
Yeah, you don't talk about a deal till it's done. I get it.
No, yeah, but it would be, you know, what we're talking about. So one was 250, another one was 200, another one was 2.25, another one was 88. So one of those just finished, and so I've still got, I don't know, 500,000 or so, 500 or so million, 500,000 or so in play right now on rehabs, but that next one is $1 million. And so I expect that I should only have one left open, but then I think I've stumbled upon, and Mike, I'm not sure if you got a chance to catch it, but I went to the town to try and get an ADU approved. I'm going to do a video on it. I went to the town trying to get an ADU approved, and they denied me. And then I got a 5-story building approved. Same lot.
Really?
They denied me on an ADU. I'm getting approved on a 5-story building.
How many units?
20. New build.
Why? I don't get it.
I went to the town, and so I had seen that they had classified it in the zoning. So you know I'm a zoning dork.
Yeah.
I look at
Yeah,
zoning
yeah.
all the time. And so I look at it with CBD zoning. I'm like, yeah, it's CBD zoning. Like, you know, I can get an ADU in there.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about CBD is that it's also usually like much shorter setbacks. So I was
Yeah,
like,
commercial business district, right? CBD.
yeah,
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
get a
yeah.
little bit bigger of an ADU,
Yeah.
that auxiliary dwelling unit.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I see a -G, and I see this -G, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I haven't seen that -G
Yeah,
before,
I know what that is. Yeah.
right? So I'm looking at this -G, and I'm looking at the, and then what I find, so I go down to the town, and I said, yeah, so I said, this is the lot I own, and towns are really helpful with this stuff, as you know. Having a conversation with them, and I said, yeah, I said, I really just want to get the, get paperwork taken care of to do an ADU there. And she goes, actually, you can't do an ADU there. I said, it's CBD district. She goes, it's CBD-G. I was like, all right, then show me what the G is. So I start reading through, and it's like, no, it literally says like no auxiliary dwelling units and no separate structures, blah, 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 blah. And then I get down to like the 5th line item, and it says -G, which is what this is designated as, is high density housing up to 5 stories.
Wow.
And I'm like,
That's a gold mine.
Lot just tripled.
Yeah,
So-
of course.
Yeah.
Here's a couple things that we
So I showed Dion this property. It's awful.
As an investor who reached financial freedom, I'm happy that I don't know what the different types of depreciation are. I'm happy that I don't know what R1, R2, G, CBD, none of those means that it's like there's more acronyms in real estate than there is on the show NCIS, and none of them matter to me.
It's true.
And I don't want them to.
Right.
So the portion of your brain that you've allocated to knowing these things that financially benefit you, it's a win when you put this building in, create more wealth, more cash flow. I'm the black sheep here. I don't want to know any of that stuff.
I don't remember my 3rd child's name sometimes, but I do know the zoning in my city.
Push it out. Get the
in 2 out of the 3 cities I do business in. But this is the kind of stuff, right? Where it's like, I knew the zoning, and I was comfortable enough with the zoning, and I'm like, I'm going to get at least, so when I looked at the project, I'm like, I'm going to get at least an ADU out of it. Sure. And that mistake was something, admittedly, and I looked at it and I was like, -G, because here's the thing. That lot is the only lot like that in that entire neighborhood. It makes no sense.
Wow. Which happens.
It's a complete outlier. I think that they might have made a mistake on the paperwork of it being -G, but I printed everything off showing all -G. So everything is being put together to build a 5-story building there. That'll be my biggest thing ever. That'll be, $4 to $6 million to build that. But with where it is in the city, it overlooks the entire city and the river that wraps through the city. Like,
So here's a crazy question for you. Again, like if
Yeah.
you stumbled across this, you could get the building approved. Maybe you get it to the point where it's approved, you sell the lot to a developer, and
exactly
yeah,
right. Yep. Because at
I
that
knew where
point,
you were going. Yeah.
yeah, because at that point, you know, and this is where elite investors have 7 outs. You know, I can
Well, you
take
also know what you don't know. It's like I've never done a 5-unit development
absolutely
or five. It's
never
like
done a 5-story building.
I'm
No.
gonna squeeze it. I'm gonna take some of the juice out, leave it on the, leave the rest for the other guy, and I'll go do something else.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of those ironic things is I actually connected. So one of my buddies that we've, you know, known each other for 20 years, he went from doing all residential in the last 3 years to doing residential and commercial. And so now he's building hotels for Hilton.
Oh wow, there you go.
So I literally made a phone call and I go, hey, what would it take? And he goes, yeah, dude, we could totally do that. And I was like, I mean, for my price, right? He goes, always. Like, you don't even need to ask.
Come on.
Good, just checking. But that's
Yeah.
the kind of thing, right? Is it's like looking at all those different things, and that's where when you know your district like you do, right?
Mhm.
It's like something comes up and you're like, wow, that's a really rare designation on that lot, you know, where you can get that high density. So to your point, the cool thing is I could, if I decide that I don't want to get crazy and I just want to rehab the duplex that's there, I can rehab the duplex that's there. It's fine. The numbers still work for just the duplex.
Yeah, that's how you bought it. You bought it right.
That's how I bought it, just a duplex. And I was like, you know what? ADU is all gravy, but the duplex still makes plenty of money. The ADU is just gravy. But if I end up doing a lot, it's going to cost me $50,000, $60,000 to get the lot approved. But then I'm into it for less than 300, and the lot's probably worth 6 or 7.
Yeah, just a lot. Yeah.
It's, you know, just a lot. So at that point, I can take that to your point, Mike. And again, it's just another exit. It's just another exit.
Just another exit.
Off ramp. Which is at the same time too, I look at it and I go, you know what? I just finished doing my super special project. I've now gone from 65% of my units being rehabbed to 85% of my units being rehabbed, or 90. I've got nothing else to do. Fine, screw it, let's do it. Or, you know what? I'm tired. I don't want to do anymore. I'm done, and I can just sell it off and take the money.
So we probably have to be wrapping this video up. And in the future, we should probably talk about some of these topics, like 2 of us don't use property management. 2 of us have house hacked. 2 of us have retired. 2 of us have ever sold a property.
Yes.
Like there's in the triangle of us, there are things that we still don't agree. We still have done differently. There are things that we have brought other people around to.
True.
Like one of us never used to use Section 8, but because the other 2 talked about the diversification, they're now trying it.
I still can't figure out if I want to send you both a mail bomb or a card.
That's exactly. I'm gonna give you my
Just wait till the next recession. You'll be okay.
Yeah, I know. I've never been such a big cheerleader for a recession in my entire life.
Prove
Like,
to me it
man,
was the right idea.
I better need all these. I better need all of them, because this really sucks
That's funny. That's funny.
for me. For
Yeah.
me.
Well, Dion, do us a favor. Where can people find you and bring us home with closing thoughts?
You can find me right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom, where I do live streams every Tuesday afternoon, 4 p.m. Pacific. And the last thing I'll wrap up with is guess in the comments below. Facial expressions, keep them straight. I can't do it. 2 of us have read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
It's true. 2 of us have.
Matt, where can people find you?
Lumberjack Landlord, YouTube and Instagram. Dion, you've got your class tomorrow. Yeah,
Class tomorrow.
Saturday. Dion's got his class tomorrow for his students. I've got my class at 8 p.m. tomorrow, and then live stream Sundays at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, and then Dion's are 7 p.m. on Tuesdays Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific, which will be back in the Pacific zone to deliver that on Tuesday.
Guys, you're wonderful. Thank you for doing this. I just love to see the 3 amigos get together. I appreciate you guys. Take care of yourself, folks. We're almost at 50,000. Subscribe. Let's go.
Let's subscribe. I want to party in Vegas on Mike's dime. Let's go.